Guys, this is Ryan Denson, also known as the Boston Beer Guy. I hope you're doing well and having an excellent Friday. This week's episode of Frosty Boi Fridays is brought to you by Proof Somerville over on 10 Main Street. They're right up down the street from my apartment, and I love coming here. They got a wide selection of beers, so if you have any needs, come on down to Proof Somerville. They'll help you guys out.
Hey guys, this is Ryan Denson, also known as the Boston Beer Guy. I hope you're doing well and having an excellent Friday. I want to welcome you on to another episode of Frosty Boi Fridays, where we'll shotgun a Bud Light and then rate a craft beer. I want to welcome on special and very, very special guest, Mike Patterson, the owner of Small Change Brewery. Mike, thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Mike, before we start getting into all this stuff, do you mind giving me a quick history and backstory of Small Change?
Sure. We started about almost 2.5 years ago, summer of 2018. We started off just as a contract brand, so we don't have our own brewery. We kind of take our own recipes and brew them at another brewery, and then package them for distribution. So I started off as a home brewer 10 or 11, 12 years ago, and then worked at a couple breweries and we wanted to just my wife and I wanted to try to make our own thing work. So we kind of hatched this plan to scale up some of the homebrew recipes and brew them at a brewery and kind of see how it went. And that was, like I said, 2.5 years ago, and it's still going. So
yeah. I mean, you guys have come a long way. I mean, you can really get Small Change almost at every place. And I got a few questions for Mike in the middle and later half of the show. But before we start anything, I'm going to do the inaugural shotgun of a Bud Light. So we'll get myself ready here. That was probably the cleanest shotgun I've done in a while. Awesome. All right, viewers, stay frosty.
I'm in the home Corona office, the coronavirus home office. So I don't want to make a mess. So I had my seltzer out of my Near X glass, which is cool as shotgunning a Bud Light, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
It's, you know what, as you know, each one gets a little bit easier and easier after they come, but it's still, you can get it right here. But we'll jump right into things. So before we get into anything, I'm going to be drinking out of a Small Change glass, courtesy of Mike. Again, I appreciate you dropping off some stuff. Mike, what are you going to be drinking out of? What are you going to be drinking out of? What glass you got? Oh, same thing. Perfect. It's even better.
Same glass. Yep.
Same glass. Awesome. So we're going to be reviewing today Small Changes If You're Ready New England Style IPA. I have the honor of having a can with no label on it, so I feel like it's a limited edition. So this is going to be a saved one, but Mike has one that does have a label on it.
I didn't count correctly and we ran out.
You're good. Awesome. Well, let's crack these open and start talking. So while we're doing this, Mike, you mentioned to me that you worked for a few breweries in the past. What were some of the breweries that you worked at before Small Change?
So I, as a home brewer, started, I went down to Night Shift and Idle Hands when they first opened and just started volunteering there. They were both home brewers, so I kind of walked in and just said, I'd like to help, and started there. And then that led to an internship at another brewery. And then I worked at Mystic for a little while, and then had kids that got older and wasn't quite able to keep up the brewery schedule.
You kind of did like a little bit of like an Everett circle. All you're missing is Bone Up, and you would have completed the whole thing. Idle Hands, I really like Idle Hands, and what they've done with their new beers, their sort of line of beers have been so much different than the past, and they're so good. I love those guys over there. They're great.
And even the sort of the traditional German styles that they started out with, they still knock those out of the park every time, like the lagers. They do. So,
yeah. Awesome. Well, my first sip, this is great. It's a very smooth New England style IPA. You get the notes of, orange and grapefruit. It's very smooth and very easy drinkable IPA. So one of my questions I had for you is, as you're a contract, or you started as a contract brewing company, what are some of the challenges that you face not having a, a small, like not having a tap room and, doing pop-ups here and there? What are some of the challenges you're facing with that in terms of this market of all the breweries having those now?
Yeah, I mean, there's challenges on two different fronts. You've got the challenge of not having a spot that people can congregate and come to and drink your beer and talk to you about your beer. So it's really, we don't have like a home that people can come visit and get that experience. And that I think is the biggest hurdle to overcome. Just the consumer engagement or customer engagement. On a regular basis. And then the second challenge is you're sort of at the mercy of somebody else's brewery. So you're kind of stuck with what, stuck, but you're confined to their equipment, their space, and which is just something, it's not really a challenge, it's more of a workaround than anything else, but it's something you have to work with.
Where do you contract out of? Like what brewery do you work with?
Almost all of our beers, we do it at Great North Ale Works in Manchester.
Oh, okay. Those guys I like those beers a lot. They do some really good stuff there.
Yeah, me too.
They got a massive facility. Well, so I mean, the cool thing about Small Change, and and anyone who's watching this who doesn't understand, Small Change or no Small Change, again, they use a lot of their distribution channels. So you seem, and I looked at your map, you seem to distribute all over Massachusetts. How did you cultivate such a large distribution channel? And do you use a company that distributes for you, or is it solo?
So we started off just in my minivan while the kids were at school. I would go around and do all the sales and all the deliveries. And I did that for a little over a year. And we built up this about 80 or so accounts of just restaurants that we would work with. And then that was about as much as I could do. So at that point, we started working with Night Shift Distributing. So we started working with them last fall. And that was good, to get sort of throughout the rest of the state, like basically Worcester and West, the areas that I couldn't get to on my own.
Especially if your kids are in school, you can't get there and back and do all your stuff. I mean, Night Shift Distribution. I mean, I think again, what Night Shift has done by creating their own distribution is incredible, and bringing on small places like yourself to really grow your brand is incredible, and it's awesome that you're able to get in there from your old connections and working there as well. Now, when you brew a beer, so let's say you're brewing the If You're Ready. One batch, so let's say, you do all the stuff, you have one batch of beer that you're going to produce. How many cans and how many cases does that actually equate to?
So this was a one-off beer. So we just did the one batch of this, and then we might do another one later sometime in the future. But so this was just a one-time thing. And I think when you factor in the cans that were missing a couple of labels that we used as some samples.
Like this one.
Yeah. It was about 330, I want to say. Okay. 33. Okay. About four case pallets, just about.
That's a lot more than my 5-gallon brew kit that I got in the basement that can get me like 40 beers. So you guys are definitely stepped up from there. I mean, Small Change has about 4 or 5 beers that they produce. I mean, A Little Rain is probably the most popular one and the most widely, desired one that you can find. But what's your favorite Small Change beer?
So we do an English dark mild called The Future's Unwritten.
Okay.
It's a 3% light-bodied dark English style beer, and that one's my favorite. We do it once a year or so, maybe. Usually every fall, and then maybe once in the spring. But that one's my favorite. It's just super flavorful and drinkable. It's 3%. So it's shotgunning. It's shotgun.
You can shotgun that one.
16 ounce. I don't know if you want to, but
that's you might have to funnle that one instead. That's a tough shotgun. Your artwork is really interesting. First of all, with the If You're Ready, where do you get your artwork from? Do we have local people doing it? Is it, part of the family? Where's the artwork coming from?
Both. So actually for this one, my daughter she made a
That's what I
painting.
thought.
Yeah, and she was trying to recreate this drawing that she had made earlier, and was doing it on paint, and she got to this point, and she was like, "Oh, I just have to add the cookie and the star and stuff," and I'm like, "No, no, no! Like maybe
This is
we
perfect.
just put this out of your reach so you can't do anything else." And yeah, I just thought it looked really cool. Um, the rest of the stuff, we my wife is the other half of Small Change. She does kind of graphic design and layout, and some of the artwork. We there's the porter and the dark mild. We had artists do the artwork in the middle of the can, and then my wife has done the IPA and collaborated with the artists for A Little Rain.
If you could think of one other local brewery in Massachusetts that you'd want to do a collaboration beer with, and you've seen all the collab beers that they're doing now. I mean, I reviewed a few things ago with Lamplighter and Vitamin C. I did their beer as well. If you could choose one brewery to collab with, who would it be?
Man, I don't know.
Tough question.
Well, we did do a collaboration with Bone Up, first collaboration that we ever did. And I was just over there a couple days ago, and I told them that as soon as we get our own spot open, we would have them in, and we would redo the same beer at our place, like have them over for a collaboration. So I'll go with Bone Up.
So you just triggered a little bit. So your own place, I mean, is that in the works? What's in the works of that?
I mean, so that was the plan originally, was to start, basically as small as possible, contract brewing, and then distributing the beer, and then seeing, if there was a demand for it, and if it was well received, then go towards opening our own.
Which it is.
Yeah. So
Very well received.
that was kind of our plan for 2020. Basically in February and in March, we were putting together that, and we were pretty much going to start actively looking for a space on April 1st. And then
Corona hit.
Now we're not. Yeah.
And now we're here.
Yeah. But hopefully we're not quite looking for a spot yet. Kind of waiting to see how the winter goes with if the perfect spot fell in our laps, then we would move on it. But kind of waiting to see how the winter goes and when they're going to start opening up and getting back to normal before we look too much into that.
I mean, to be honest with you, it's probably better that you guys didn't find a place that was in, February or March and start up your brewery and this happened. I mean, the brewery industry has been hard hitting. And the coolest thing about, what Marty Walsh has done is that he's allowed for outdoor seating, which is, I think, just an incredible thing, especially in the summertime. In the wintertime, it's going to be tough. So, I bet it's going to be a great brewery when it comes out, and I'm very excited to come in and grab one of the first pints. So I guess my last question for you here is: there's so many breweries in Massachusetts. Besides Small Change, what's your favorite brewery
in Massachusetts?
Yeah,
or
New England.
I think still it's probably Notch.
Okay.
Yeah, I love the taproom. I love the beer that they do. I love, it's my favorite. If I had to go, if I was going out to a brewery, and that would be the place that I would want to go first.
Awesome. Well, so this beer, let's talk a little bit about it. Do you mind giving me a quick run through as what incorporates, and if you're ready?
Sure. Ingredients wise?
Yeah, ingredients wise, if you did anything different within, grains and malts, and if you want to give kind of a profile of this beer.
Yeah, no, it's pretty, what I would imagine, it's the first New England style IPA we did.
It's great, by the way.
Thank you. So, I think it's a pretty standard, as far as grain bill, some grow wheat and oats and stuff, everything that's usually in there. And then, the hops were just Mosaic and Citra.
Okay. Very, very stable hops. I really like. I'm getting Mosaic is sort of really building on me. I really like beers that are brewed with Mosaic. My favorites are Citra and Galaxy. I'm a big New England style IPA guy, and that's sort of like what I really love. I think this is a great beer, but Mike, you're our guest. I mean, I know you're a little biased because you work at Small Change and you own it, but I mean, think about your other beers that you have and what you've done in the past, and maybe other beers that you drink, and give this a score between 1 and 10.
10. But I mean, yeah, no. I mean, if I'm really being objective, I mean, so I
Seriously, yeah.
like, there's things that I would change, like, improve on it next time. Like, so I'm super critical of everything. So every time, I would say 7.5.
Okay, so a 7.5.
I'll say 8.
You'll say 8? Okay, that's a good rating. I mean,
It's tough. I have to put the salesperson hat on. I have to put the company hat on. Like,
I mean, it's a good rating. I mean, right now, so I'm not sure if you're familiar, it's a 3.99 on Untapped. And it's also a 6.5% beer. So it's running at almost a 9 out of 10 or a like an 8.5 out of 10 in my scale. So for my rating, I mean, I think it's good. It's an easy drinkable beer. It's something that you want to crush in the summertime, but it's also a beer that you can have all year round, because some beers I feel are, so refreshing where you have it in the winter, it's good, but when you go in the winter, you kind of get more of that bitterness because you want a little bit more of a bite, especially after skiing. I love a nice biting beer.
Yeah.
I would definitely say, I would honestly probably give this beer an 8.7 out of 10. I think it's extremely well done for a first ever New England IPA. I've had a little rain as well, and I think that's great as well. And I think, again, as a New England IPA fan, it is probably honestly on one of the top that I would have. If I would go to a store and I had a bunch of stuff, I would, be more targeted to go to that beer, just because, I mean, I've had it before, but in terms of this is my first time ever. But, when I would go to a store, I would definitely want to get it. So, yeah, I definitely think this is an excellent beer.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, honestly, that's it. Mike, again, I appreciate you being on, seriously. And I'm looking forward to coming into the tap room and trying it out. If you want to grab any of their beers, most likely your local liquor store is going to have Small Change. Again, they have a very good distribution company. Tune in for the next few weeks. I got a few other breweries coming in, and it's going to be great. Mike, again, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's been fun.
Awesome.